This is another day of me playing with Samson. I think this time with different decks from the last video. It's a new patch. I don't think that any cards were buffed or nerfed. Maybe like slight rule change for revealed, which was introduced. That's kind of just a quality of life thing. And one of the cards that was introduced is Sky Burial, which I'm playing here. I think this was more hyped, and then people ended up using the other released card more, which is Starfall. So this is one thing that it can do that I hadn't mentioned or seen before, but Hungry Ghost is like a really aggressive option on round two, and it's 4 points, but then it will give you negative points in the future. And if you play Sky Burial, it's going to force those negative points to be applied now. And you end up 2 points ahead, which is pretty sweet. You just have to not play if you have priority. The other release card, Starfall, is what just got discarded. That's why Samson has extra breath here. So the point of my deck is to play Sky Burial, which essentially gives the opponent 5 points, and we get 7 points. But then we're gonna change our points into Nourish, which will cause the next card we resolve to be worth extra points. And then we're going to take that Nourish and apply it to a card called Pet that maintains any changes to its points. Here, I could play a card Pet, or I could pass and just have high likelihood that I'm winning next round. I don't love this, but I'm going for the tie. And I'm trying to do that in a situation in which my opponent has one more breath than me. So if they were doing something like Dagger, then that one extra breath is essentially gone. But because he played Prey, which is a 2 points for one breath, he ended up ahead anyways. The deck that we play is like fairly fair until it isn't, which is when it's doing the pet recursion thing. Another thing about pet, often you'll play Hold Tight if you just have like 2 or 3 Nourish that you're throwing on it, because you want it to happen a couple times. So Hold Tight is going to take the pet, put it back on top of your deck, and then you can draw it and you can apply more Nourish, and then you can do this a couple times. And each time you do it, you're like carrying over all of the points that it's already accumulated. However, here I've already got it to a 2-9, and it's really hard to beat a 2-9. So what I do is just play Yearn, which, if you spend 4 breath on it, is going to take that 2-9 and put it into the story for the current round. And it's also going to be on top of the Yearn, so you can keep doing this round after round, as long as you're not playing some card after it that would cover it up. And the card that I play here is Vulture or Sky Burial, which both of them have fleeting, so that's not a problem. The deck also has interesting interactions with some meta pieces, those being Sickness and Victim. Both of those will give negative Nourish, so that's something that we are in a position to address because we have Hollow. As you see here, I think that was from Victim, so I had like -12 from that Nourish. And then Hollow sets your points to 0, so like Hollow earns -12 points, then it sets those points to 0, and you've essentially negated that negative carryover. You can also do that with your own cards. So Hungry Ghost will give you -4 Nourish, and then on the next round, you start at 0 points, and you can play Hollow to go down to -4 points, and then it uh, you go back to 0. So like normally there would be a cost to pay for Vulture, which when it's played gives you negative nourish, or Hungry Ghost, which when it resolves gives you negative nourish. But it makes for a really strong round 2, round 3 in more aggressive decks. And just because those cards are already included in this deck, we can splash into them. So, like round 2, you play Hungry Ghost. You end that round with negative nourish. You start with Hollow. And then the next card that you play is Vulture. So instead of having negative 4 nourish, you have negative 6 nourish. And you are going to just get the 5 points from Vulture on round 3, which is pretty strong. There are other things that compete with it, but here. So I expect Predator to be a card that never really does anything for me. My opponent's deck seems pretty fair. It's not doing too many tricks. It's just discarding cards. So as long as I'm getting my pet combo off, basically nothing he's going to do is going to beat that. So I could have tried to just play like 5 points for the round. The reason that I didn't lead with pet is pet would have kept that negative change to its points. Uh, Here it's nice that I have priority. If I didn't have priority, he might be able to play Dagger as his first card. That would discard a card of mine, and then my Urine would uh, end up pulling back the card that was discarded instead of my pet. Another nice synergy is that if Sky Burial or Vulture is discarded, so both of them have fleeting. Normally, when I play them and they resolve, I I can't get them into my discard pile, essentially. Like, if I play them normally and they resolve and earn their points and everything, they will be removed from the game. However, if my opponent discards them from my hand, or I somehow discard them from my hand, they will be in my discard pile. There's nothing against that. And I can play Yearn to pull back Sky Burial, which is 7 points, or Vulture, which is 5 points. And both of these are probably enough to win most rounds. Um, so there's like the double-sided sort of, it's rough if I'm trying to Yearn a pet, and the opponent screws up my plan because of Dagger. But, oh, I should talk about this game. But it's nice if I just leave Vulture or Sky Burial as the leftmost card. And I can stack my hand like that because it's like fairly, I call it like liquid. It's like all of the cards in my hand I can play for pretty cheap. They all cost like 0, 1, 2, or 3. So that's nice. Um, I lost the last round because I kind of expected that my opponent would win somehow, and I just wanted the Nourish to be able to take this round quite solidly. I shouldn't do anything here. Um, I actually end up regretting that. So if I had played Hollow here, I still would have won. My opponent would have had -4, but I would have had a 2/9 in my discard from the original pet, and then Nourish going into this round to either put it on any card or put it on the other pet. Um, it's still the case that the pet would have been discarded, so I couldn't have put it on that pet, but it would have meant that I was favored to win this round, and right now I'm not really. So the other consideration is I could have passed, because if he plays Dagger first and then I play Pet, then Pet will still be the top card. There I passed. Starfall is kind of an adjustment. Like, if you have 5 cards and the opponent has 6 cards, it's normally pretty safe for you to pass leading a round. However, they could have Starfall, which gets discarded, and they might want to do that. Like, Stars, which will give you 1 breath next round, is a pretty good card, and Starfall is kind of modular in that it can be that for the current round, like the round that it's discarded, or it can be a 6/7, which is like quite good. Um, I'm somewhat fishing. Am I? No, so Goliath and Hero are cards that will discard the next card. It's not in this match that my opponent has that. I think I've seen the deck that they've played already, and I sort of know what it's doing in general. I mean, they could splash Goliath, which is an 8/8 that discards the next card. Um, if they do that, playing Sky Burial into it is super solid because for 2 breath, I got 7 points, and the 5 point card that I gave them was discarded by Goliath. So, similar to how playing it after Hungry Ghost is really positive and disruptive, playing it after Goliath, playing it after Hero is like pretty solid. I really haven't been commentating the nice. I've just been like talking about the decks. Uh, so again, I kind of want to discard Vulture, but Vulture also might be a nice card to play. I could be pretty far above curve here if I just played like Hollow Vulture, Yearn, Hungry Ghost, some combination. I can also Yearn a Hollow, or maybe they've played a Dagger and it's gonna Yearn a Vulture and I'll have 6 points. Something like that. Um, the other possibility is I just play Six Breath by playing Urine without the exhale, Vulture, and Hungry Ghost. And I'm saving the Hollow for cleaning up the Hungry Ghost Nourish. I don't know if I love this play. It feels like I might go just a little bit below my opponent, but it ends up working. I mean, that's always the risk when like you're kind of on even ground. One of you might just be 1 point ahead. My and I also like wanted to play the cards that are worth points that will win me rounds before the shuffle. And my deck is pretty thin at this point. I play Vulture, Sky Burial. These have fleeting, so they don't shuffle back in. Uh, but like, there's not really value in my hand. Except that Urn does translate into quite a bit of value if I draw the pet. Here, this is a clever play. So the first hollow cancels out my -4 nourish. Sky Burial gets me 7 points, and then I urine the hollow, and I will end up with 8 nourish, even though I'm at 0 points. But because I have 3 wins and my opponent has one, this is like quite safe to do. Um, and he's like playing a fair deck. I think that there are some decks where your feeling is, I only have to win 2 more, that's fine. I can just do some like nourish trading things. And there are other matchups where it's like, if I don't win the next 2 rounds, he's gonna start doing something crazy, and I'm just gonna never come back from that. But this is really nice. Like I forced him a hard commit. Uh, he stuffed 1 card from playing Prey, so I only drew 1 instead of the normal 2. This is the second pet that hadn't been nourished, which I think honestly I would rather see that one here, just because I'm already +8 on this round. I've seen his deck. There's nothing that beats 10 points. I like there's not really a reason not to play Urine here. I think that there are things that I could have just lost to, maybe. Well, he only has 8 breath. Um, he could have played like Starfall Hungry Ghost and beaten me. But well, so it's like my game to lose at this point. Um, but I probably should have just played Urine. So the risk is he plays Dagger? Or I guess, yeah, he plays Victim. So Victim is the reason not to play Yearn and get uh however many, 21 points. Right, so he knows this is over. Um, yeah, and that was like a different matchup than yesterday. I think I was playing a different deck, he was playing a different deck. These are both a little bit experimental, like not totally competitive, but like doing well.